Welcome to this edition of Insider Secrets, the weekly podcast that turns real estate investing goals into reality. Each show, we interview guests who are seasoned real estate professionals actively closing and managing real estate deals. Mike is the founder of My Core Intentions and would like to help you make your real estate investing dreams a reality. Mike coaches you to buy investment real estate, creating short-term cash flow and long-term wealth. Your host and real estate coach, Mike Morawski, has more than 30 years of real estate investing and property management experience. Here's your host, Mike.
Hey, good morning, everybody. We are always bringing great content for the multifamily investor, whether you're active or whether you're passive. We're going to talk a lot again today about raising private capital and some tools and resources that are going to be beneficial for you in doing that. Hey, how are your efforts going? So, one thing I want to talk about this morning is there's a lot of conversation and a lot of talk around it being tough to raise capital today. Whether that's true or not, the more you focus on that aspect of the business, the more you focus on that aspect of being tough and being hard right now, the more you're going to attract that to yourself. So I really want to encourage you to think more about the fact that it's easier, that people want to hear what you have to say. Get that drunk monkey off your shoulder or out of your mind and really focus on what you're trying to accomplish and where you're trying to go. The more you live in that space or that place of being able to raise capital, of doors opening for investors to come into your life, the easier it's going to be for you to do that and the more opportunities that are going to show up for you. So I just want to encourage you to think differently, try and think outside the box or outside your norm for a minute and see how that will change your efforts going forward on a daily basis. I'm excited today about my guest. My guest is Todd Heitner. He's calling from Pennsylvania. Todd is with Apartment Investors Pro, and we're going to talk about systems and processes for helping you raise capital. If you're here for the first time, welcome. I'm glad that you're here this morning. Thank whoever invited you to the show. And if you are new or you've been back before, please help us out on social media. Like us, love us. If you're on YouTube this morning, subscribe to that channel. We're always bringing great content to you. Let me bring my guest in right now. Todd, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you
How's
today?
your weekend going?
Good so far. Yeah. I just got back from a trip visiting my family, so I'm just kind of catching up on things this weekend.
Nice, good for you. I always like to tell people, hey, make sure you've got your coffee this morning because it's probably early in some places. I'm on the West Coast. It's 8 o'clock here and 11 o'clock where you're at. And it's all the way across the country. What's the weather like in Pennsylvania today?
It's supposed to get into the low 50s today, so not too bad. It's kind of spring is gradually on its way here, so seeing some flowers coming up and stuff, so it's getting better.
Seems like a hard start this year.
Yeah, I'm ready for spring.
Hey, thanks for being here this morning. I appreciate it. I had an opportunity to be on your show and get to know you a little bit and thought it'd be great to reciprocate and have you on mine because you had some really great things to talk about. One of the first things I do when I start my shows is I always ask my guests one question. And that is, in one word, what best describes you personally and professionally?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I'd have to say curious. I'm always curious. I'm like, what if we tried this? What if this existed, this thing that doesn't exist now? And so that it leads to some creative solutions sometimes to things. So that's something I feel like is a recurring quality there that comes up.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite questions is what if? What
Yeah.
if rents don't go up? What if unemployment goes up? What if interest rates don't come down? What if? I think that whether you're underwriting, whether you're doing marketing efforts, whatever it is, just asking that question. And I think I
Mhm.
heard Tony Robbins say years ago that if you can ask a question and then come up with 20 answers for that question, by the time you get to answers 18, 19, and 20, that's where the real answer is because it's those first five answers are so easy to come up with. But when you
Mhm.
get down to those last few questions, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think a lot of times too, the answer is within us. If we look, sometimes we think we need somebody else to tell us, but if we really spend the time asking those questions and digging down, the answer is there.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, why don't you talk about you a little bit, Todd? Tell people who you are, where you're from, your background, and what you're doing today.
Yeah, sure. So originally I'm from Oklahoma. I grew up on a cattle ranch and decided cattle ranching was not for me. So when I got older, I was always interested in computers, websites, things like that. The internet was kind of new at that time. And so I wanted to learn how to make websites. So that was kind of my background. I got into web design and creating websites. So I've always been kind of technically inclined and eventually started our business where we focused on websites for real estate investors. So we've been doing that for about 20 years now. The last 10 or so more focused on branching out into the multifamily space for apartment syndicators and multifamily investors, tying it back into the curiosity kind of realizing, oh, this is a problem that a lot of people have. They need a website, but it's expensive, it's time consuming, it's a pain for everybody. And so what if we offered something that solve some of those problems? So that's how we got into this, saw that there was a need there, and I wanted to create something to solve that need.
Yeah, interesting. So you build websites, and who's your audience, your avatar? Are you building that for just general public in the multifamily business? Talk about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, just mainly apartment investors, apartment syndicators, especially, or any kind of syndication really, but especially apartments. Some of our clients do self-storage or mobile home parks, things like that. But it's all raising money for real estate investing, raising money from investors. So yeah, we've focused on that. And I think that's a good thing for anybody to do, focus on one thing and get really good at it. And so that's what we've done in that space.
That's awesome. And are they focused just on like a static website or are they interactive? How do they work? And here's my bigger question around that. Part of that question is, are they for the apartment investor just to say, hey, here's who we are and what we do? Or are they interactive enough that will help you attract passive investors?
Yeah. So it's partially educational. It does have all this stuff that a potential investor is going to need to know. What is syndication? How does it work? Why is multifamily a good investment? But yeah, there's definitely interactive elements to it. For example, forms that people can fill out, like to opt in for a lead magnet. Like we have a lead magnet or free resource that you can give away to investors that they can sign up for and they go into your database. And so there's a lot of stuff on the back end too. There's a CRM or customer relationship management system where you can basically a communication hub essentially is what it is, a place to put your investors, build a list, keep in touch with them, manage all those communications in one place, whether it's email, phone, texting, whatever, all of that in one place so that you can follow up with those leads and take them from being somebody that just found out about you to actually being an investor.
And so is that CRM one that you've built and created, or do you use, like I use Zoho? Do
Okay.
you connect with that or Active Campaign or?
So I've used a lot of those in the past and we can connect to those, but we actually have our own that's kind of built in now. I can't take full credit. We didn't build it from scratch, but we found software for it, a really good system so that it's all integrated in one platform, just one place to log in, only one service to pay for every month that includes all of that. Yeah. So all of that integrated.
Yeah, interesting. And once you build that website, who hosts it?
Oh, we host it. It's all part of the service. So basically, people sign up, and there's a monthly fee that includes the hosting, includes the CRM, includes all of the different features, includes support. We handle the support for that because people need a website, but they don't really want to have to learn how to build one or create one or maintain it. So that's where we come in with handling that kind of stuff on the back end, that keeping it running, helping people out when they need to update it and things like that.
How about you do that then? So if you built a website for someone and there was something they wanted to change or update or freshen up, you take care of those changes.
We can, or there's different scenarios. Sometimes people want us to do it, and that's fine. We can do that. Or sometimes they want to do it themselves. That's fine too. It's everything's point and click. It's easy to do. Other people have somebody on their team that does it. They have a VA or something, and that's fine too. However you want to do it, you can be as hands off or hands on as you want to be, basically.
Interesting. And does it have a capacity to be able to do funnels and to build out lead follow up?
Yeah, it does. That's a great question because that is an important part of that. And but yeah, it does. You can create landing pages, you can create funnels similar to people using other services like ClickFunnels and different things like that. It's got that kind of functionality built in, so you can map out a process. You can do split testing and test a different headline or whatever, and take people through a process, whatever you want that to be, whether it's booking a call or joining you on a webinar or something like that. And yeah, so all of that is built in. They can create landing pages and funnels and like things like that too. Like with the main website for raising money, we have all the content already created. Of course, I encourage people to customize it as they have time, but it's designed to be ready to go, where basically you just plug in your company name and it's got everything is ready to go for you. You can start using it. But I encourage people as they have time to personalize it, put their own flavor in there, their own brand in that. So yeah, it has all that built in. Even some other features like posting things to social media, you can do it from there, schedule those posts and things like that. And rather than having to go to every platform and post manually to each one, there's just one place to schedule it all. So that's
Yeah.
built in too.
That's interesting. So let's talk about the raising money aspect. That's a big thing in today's world. People are raising capital for their real estate syndication deal, whether that be multifamily or single family or any other type of commercial real estate product. How does that system come together? What do you have pre-built that people can utilize?
Yeah. So of course, the one thing is the website. Like that's a big part of it for credibility, but also a way to capture leads. You have to have somewhere to send people when they're interested. So having a free resource on there that people can sign up for. And so, like I said, we have the one that's already written that people can use. It's about basically why multifamily investing makes sense. And that's something you can drive people to, and they can sign up for that. You get their contact information. You have a way to follow up. We do have some series of emails too that after somebody does sign up, then what? You want to nudge them forward, keep them moving. So we have some pre-written emails that our clients can use to educate people, but also keep them moving along, helping them to know what the next step is and nudging them in that direction.
As part of that funnel process, obviously you've got some email follow-up things. How about text messaging? Is that part of that funnel also?
It can be, yeah. There's a lot of flexibility. Basically, the ability is there to have the text messaging. We're probably going to be creating some pre-written things for that too, but it's definitely able to do that for the ones that want to use that. It's definitely something they can do to send a text. Let's say somebody fills out a form and they give you their phone number, you could send them a text immediately after that, maybe asking if they have a few minutes to chat or whatever you want that process to look like.
And is it all automated?
Yeah, it can be. There's definitely automations built in, and you can automate pretty much anything you want to, or be as hands-on or manual as you want to too. But I think there's parts of that process, as much as possible, I think you want to automate. And so yeah, we have some automations already created, and some of them people can create their own based on their own needs and what they want to happen.
Yeah, very interesting. So let's talk about raising capital. Do you raise capital for deals and do you do your own multifamily deals?
I'm not actively investing. I invest passively. It's another business, and I've already got a business, so I know I can't really focus on both. My wife and I chose to invest passively in real estate, so I'm very much familiar with the process. So we go to a lot of events and different things like that, and I know the process, and I've seen it even from the perspective of the passive investor. So I know what to look for and what somebody needs at that stage, and learned some things that people do wrong.
Let's talk about that. What types of things have you seen people do wrong when it comes to raising capital?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is not having their process mapped out. You get in front of somebody new and you get their contact information. Maybe you do a call with them, but then what? There's just a lot of times it's just like a big black hole. So I think mapping out your process and realizing, okay, what happens after the call? What if they say this? What if they say that? And then having stuff as much as possible automated, but one way or another, having things mapped out so that there is a follow up at the right time and you know where they're at and what they need to move forward. I know for us, there were several different deals we were looking at and over a period of time, and just nobody ever followed up with us. They did a call and we were interested, and we just said, okay, yeah, we want to think about it. I definitely would have invested in some of those deals if somebody had just followed up with me. One phone call probably would have been enough, or an email, but there was just nothing. And I think that really comes down to just not having a process in place, just leaving it to chance, leaving it up to your memory. Okay, I need to follow up with that person, but then you forget, or you just don't have a system to put it in, and it just falls through the cracks. I think that's something people need to spend some time on, is figuring out what is that process. Just for example, I have this mapped out for our clients, just the whole process from when somebody comes in contact with you. Where do they go? They go to a landing page, then what? They opt in. Then what happens? We get a series of emails, and then what? And just mapping through that whole process. And then, of course, every stage of that, you have to create some content around that. And that's what we try to help with that. But yeah, I would say that's a big thing. It's just that not having that plan there in place, and then that follow up not happening.
That's really interesting. I love the way you put that as you fall into a dark hole. I think that something I learned in the sales business years ago was that the money's not made in the initial call, that it's made in the follow-up. And you do have to have a system in place. That lead comes into your funnel by way of maybe a lead magnet, or somebody sees you on social media, or a referral from somebody, and you have that initial call. and then you maybe send them an investment package on a particular offering, and then nothing, crickets,
Yeah. Right.
because you're hoping that person calls you back and says, "Oh, I'm interested, I'm excited," and that's a one out of 1,000 these days.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was going to say one thing I thought about with that is that people are looking for a passive investment. They don't want to have to work for it. So don't make them do all the work to invest with you. That's,
That's a great
uh,
spin on that. A great
yeah.
spin on that. So, what do you suggest? Let's talk about process for a minute. What are those next couple of steps? Todd, if I have a conversation with you today and I say, "Hey, I have this offering," you say, "Yeah, I'd like to see it." I send that offering to you. What are the next few steps I should do with you?
Yeah. So I guess part of it might depend on where I'm at right now. Am I ready to move forward right now? I guess if somebody's ready to invest or they're serious about investing right now, find out what they need. What do they want to see? What information are they interested in? Make sure the deal aligns with them. But then once they find out, do they need to talk to somebody? Do they need to talk to their partner, talk to their spouse, whatever, and get back to you? And if so, how long is that going to take? And then make sure before you get off the phone with them or whatever contact you have, make sure you have something scheduled. I know like in our own business, like when we do a call with somebody, we want to schedule another call. If they're not ready to move forward, then schedule a call on that call, say in a week or 2 weeks, and to say, oh, I just want to check in and see where we're at, and just get something on the calendar or put something in your system somewhere where you can make sure you do follow up at the time that they say they're going to be ready, and then find out where they're at. Find out, did they have that conversation? Did that other person have some questions, or did they need something from you? What's standing in the way basically for them to move forward?
Yeah. So, what would a funnel look like? So, again, we have that contact today, and you have an interest level, you're looking for something today. We don't know if this is the deal that you're going to go into, or if you're going to go into this other one or this other one over here, but you're looking at a few deals. How do I, as a sponsor, capital raiser, what are those next things in the funnel that I should do?
Yeah, keeping in mind that people are at all different stages. Somebody's going to be ready to invest this week. Somebody's going to be ready to invest in a year, and they're all different stages. I think one of the important things is to have regular content going out where you're keeping in touch with people so that whenever they are ready, there's a message from you there. There's a way for them to move forward. You're the one that they think of. We call it top of mind awareness. Like you're the one that was in their inbox this week. So when they're ready to invest, like you're the one that they're thinking of. So having that regular contact, some of this you can have automated. You can have like regular emails after somebody signs up for something, but you also need to have some periodic content going out that maybe like a newsletter that you send out that educates people, reminds them of what you do and what the benefits will be to them, educates them in some way, helps them see why this is a good investment. I think that's a big part of it, is just having those regular points of contact with people.
And so, what's most effective in today's capital raising efforts? Do you think that is it phone, email, text, social media? What do you think is most effective?
I think everybody has their own favorite method of communication. I think that having as many different ones as possible, but I think the most solid thing, the strongest relationships are usually formed face to face. So whether that's meeting in person or on Zoom, if you really want to have a solid relationship with somebody, that's how that gets more solid. I think from there it goes backwards, where you don't see the other person is not quite as strong of a bond, not quite as solid. That's not always needed at every stage. When somebody's just first coming into your funnel, into your process, they're just gathering information. They're just curious. So I think those automated things are fine at that point. And maybe trying different things, trying email, trying phone or texting, send them to your social media. Like everybody has their own thing that works best for them. And I think figuring out who it is you're talking to, depending on who they are, who you're targeting, you might find that all of your audience is on a certain platform. They might really like LinkedIn or whatever. They have a certain platform that they use more. So then you can gravitate toward that one, or Instagram or whatever. But it's good to have a variety of things so you can test too and see what works best with the people you're trying to reach. And whatever it's working best, do more of that.
Yeah. Now, do you raise capital for other people's deals, or do you just help build the processes for people?
Yeah, basically the processes mainly is what we do, help them to have the tools that they need and the content and things like that to help them with that process.
It's awesome. How do people get started with you in this process?
Yeah, so like on our website, apartmentinvestorpro.com, we have a demo people can see. There's information on our site that kind of shows like what it is that we include, the features, the pricing, all of that. And then if somebody wants to, they can book a call or they can sign up directly on the page if they're ready for it. Somebody on our team would be glad to do a call if there's specific questions about like, how does this work? Or what about my situation? How will this work? And So we're glad to take the time to do that.
It's great to build a website and have it sitting out there. What's the best two or three of the best ways to drive traffic to a website?
Yeah, I would say when people are starting out, we talked about mapping out a process. We don't really want to send any traffic until you have a process in place to capture people. But once you have that, I think it's usually good to start with some kind of free traffic, like going on podcasts or social media, things that aren't costing you. And so you can test it and see how it's working and see if you need to tweak anything. Because sometimes you do, like sometimes you need to make some adjustments. But then once you have your process is pretty solid, then I think things like pay-per-click ads and things like that are a good way to connect with more people. There's like Facebook ads or Google ads, things like that. You can even advertise on podcasts. Depending on where your audience is, that's probably going to make a difference in where you go. For example, if you're targeting a specific type of investor, maybe somebody that has a background in maybe doctors, for example, then there's resources for that. There's podcasts you could go on that are specific to that, or you could even advertise on those podcasts or magazines and things like that they might subscribe to. I think it depends on who you're targeting, and getting clear on that is a good starting point to figure out who is your ideal investor. And then you can speak to that person. I think starting out with some free things like podcasts, social media is a good place to start. And then branching out into like pay-per-click or different kind of paid ads can give you a little bit more control of the process. You can throttle it up and down, or you can try new things and potentially get in front of more people that way.
Interesting. So, how do people reach you if they want to connect with you, and what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, so our website's probably the best thing. apartmentinvestorpro.com is our website. From there, you can either see a demo, you can read more about how it works, how our service works. You can book a call, whatever makes sense for you, that you can see what's needed there. We have links for everything on the site.
I appreciate you being here today. A lot of good information, and I encourage my listeners to go back, listen through again, and pick up those key points that will help you, whether you're doing this hands-on or you need to reach out to Todd and Apartment Investors Pro for help building your website or creating some funnels or doing something that's going to help you raise more capital. Hey, as I wind down, I always like to ask a couple bonus questions. So, Todd, what's the best book you've ever read?
Oh, that's a tough one. Read a lot of good books. Wow. Yeah. Let's see. One of the books that I keep going back to and rereading parts of is The Magic of Thinking Big.
Hmm.
It's kind of mindset based. It's a little bit older too, but I think it's a really good book. I forget the author. I've got it somewhere around here, but anyway, I forget the author. But yeah, it's a really great book. I think we all have different challenges with things. There's different parts of our mindset that probably isn't quite where it needs to be. And it's really great reminders of whether it's how you're dealing with other people, how you're viewing yourself, all of those things. I found it really powerful. Some really great points that I keep going back to and rereading parts of it.
Yeah, interesting. How about best tourist attraction you've ever seen?
Oh, wow. That's cool. Yeah. One of my favorite places I've gone, it was a park in China. I probably can't pronounce it correctly, Zhangjiajie or something like that, but it's really amazing. These huge rock spires, they call them. They're just straight up like a pillar, but they're like 1,000 feet tall or more. They actually filmed some of the movie Avatar there, where they had those floating mountains. They basically filmed it there, but just cut off the bottom and make it look like they're floating. But they used that like that real place, and it's just such an unusual landscape that I've just never seen anything else like it. There may not be anything else quite like it. So that was one of the most interesting places I've been.
That's cool. I always like to hear about things and places, and I've never been to Asia. On my bucket list, though, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's some really cool places. We did a trip a few years ago and got to see a few places in Asia. That was really interesting. Amazing stuff out there that I had never seen before.
Yeah, interesting. Listen, thanks for being here this morning. I appreciate it. I've loved getting to know you a little bit more and building a relationship, being on your show, you being on mine. I invite my listeners to reach out to you to get some more information wherever you're at. Maybe you have a website you need updated, or maybe you have a concept for building a website, but reach out to Todd. If you have any questions, contact Todd. He can help you on that passive investing or your syndication journey with some tools and resources that will help your business. Todd, thanks again for being here. Listeners, thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Remember, help us out on social media. Like us, love us, and subscribe over on YouTube. Have a great week, everybody, and we will see you soon.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you for joining us for another great episode of Insider Secrets. As always, Insider Secrets is brought to you by My Core Intentions. Wherever you hang out on social media, you will find Mike and My Core Intentions. Please like and follow us to get the most up-to-date real estate investing trends. Visit mycoreintentions.com, where you can get expert coaching on all things real estate investing and property management. If you're looking to become an expert, Mike's coaching will help you scale your real estate investment business. We're looking forward to having you back again next week for more Insider Secrets.